Back then, my sister, Grace, chose 5 million yuan instead of attending a prestigious university. She used that money to buy a house for my brother, to ensure he could get married, and tried her best to help the family. In the end, she was penniless and hastily married off by our parents with a dowry of only 2 sets of blankets. She soon gave birth to 3 children, and life became incredibly difficult. Meanwhile, I got into a renowned university, studied straight through to a PhD, and settled abroad, becoming a successful figure in the Wall Street financial world. When I returned home to visit, I saw Grace heavily pregnant, constantly busy in the kitchen, serving the whole family. Our parents and brother treated her terribly, showing all sorts of dislike and contempt, while they treated me like a distinguished guest. Full of resentment, Grace murdered me in my sleep. When I woke up, I found myself back in time, right after the university entrance exams. Grace seized the opportunity to get into the prestigious 985 university before me and declared, "Little sister, in this life, only I can be recognized by our parents. I want to go to 985. My sister's voice pulled me from my daze. I suddenly realized I had returned to that fateful day, the day destiny gave us a choice. Before me were the options, 985 university or 5 million yuan. Grace was quicker than me, clicking the 985 button. Her eyes shone with bright hope. "Little sister, this life, it's my turn to bring honor to the family." In my heart, I sighed silently. Even after being reborn, she still relentlessly sought recognition from our parents. Memories from the previous life flooded back. When the 2 choices were placed before her, she almost unhesitatingly chose the 5 million yuan. At that time, she said, "This is wonderful. With this money, Mom and Dad won't have to work so hard anymore." She used the money to buy a spacious house for the whole family, bought gold jewelry for Mom, and ensured our brother could attend an expensive private school, helping the whole family have a comfortable and peaceful life. I advised Grace to give our parents a moderate amount for living expenses and keep the rest for her education. She wouldn't listen. They're our own parents. What's there to be wary of? Besides, with so much money, what's the point of studying? Later, when our brother graduated and got married, the house naturally became his honeymoon suite. I again advised Grace to clarify the property ownership documents, otherwise living in the house later would be awkward. She still didn't believe me and even scolded me for being overly anxious. "What nonsense are you worrying about? So what if I bought this house? Isn't it for my brother? After he gets married, wouldn't there be room for me to squeeze in?" When the sister-in-law came into the family, she indeed disliked her sister-in-law living together. They argued all the time. Our brother remained indifferent. Our parents were also afraid of their daughter-in-law, so they only knew to advise Grace to be patient and let things pass. At that time, I had been studying abroad for some time. Grace called me, complaining about her hardships. I advised her to decisively file a lawsuit to reclaim the house. She went ballistic. "I'm telling you these things not for you to incite family discord. Do you think everyone is as selfish as you, only knowing about studying? All these years, you haven't even sent a penny back home." Then she angrily hung up. Seeing that I couldn't persuade her, I had to give up. Not long after, Grace was matched with a man in his 30s from the countryside. She wanted to ask our parents for the remaining savings as dowry. Our mother immediately scolded her harshly. "What money? You've been freeloading at home all these years. Even mountains of gold and silver would be used up. We've raised you and educated you, spending hundreds of thousands, not to mention the nurturing we've given you." That was it. They took 200,000 yuan in bride price and packed 2 blankets for Grace as a dowry, practically driving her out of the house. When I returned home to visit, Grace already had 2 children and was pregnant again, still busily cooking in the kitchen. Seeing her haggard appearance and the children's messy look, life was clearly not easy. When our parents saw me driving a Mercedes, their eyes lit up, smiling so wide that the wrinkles on their faces were prominent. My brother and sister-in-law also beamed, telling their children to run over and cling to me, calling me Aunt Lily sweetly. Seeing Grace alone and quietly working, I wanted to help, but Mom stopped me. Just ignore her. Her fate is to suffer her whole life. She can't amount to anything. Hearing this, my heart ached. Grace sacrificed half her life for the family, yet she received such treatment in return. However, while I was still feeling sorry for Grace, she harbored hatred for me. That night, she sneaked into my room and strangled me while I was sound asleep. Before I died, I heard her resentful and indignant words. Why have I sacrificed so much for the family, yet parents still say I'm unfilial? You're living comfortably abroad, not helping with anything at home, yet they praise you to the skies. Why is the whole family biased towards you? I opened my mouth, wanting to explain, but couldn't utter a word. In the end, I died suffocating. My mind returned to the present. After Grace chose 985 University, I calmly stepped forward to the deity and pressed the 5 million yuan button. From behind, a mocking voice echoed, "Don't even think about spending a penny of this money. You must keep it to support your parents." I rolled my eyes, ignoring it. After receiving the money, the first thing I did was go to the police station and report that my household registration book was lost. 10 minutes later, I got a new one. Then I went to the bank, deposited 3 million yuan, and bought a high-speed train ticket to another city, finding a hotel to stay in and starting to contact study abroad agencies. According to the deity's rules, if I received the money, my university entrance exam scores would be erased. So, if I wanted to go to university, I could only go abroad. In my previous life, I had advised Grace to take this path, but clearly, she hadn't paid any attention. While she was lavishing money on our parents and brother, I was at university, worrying about tuition fees and striving to get high grades and do research. She would never know how many sleepless nights I had to go through to go from a regular 985 university to getting a PhD from a prestigious university. She also wouldn't know that every day abroad, I had to be frugal, calculating every penny. At that time, I was really envious of her. If only I had such a large sum of money, I wouldn't have had to live so poorly. Fortunately, this life, I had a completely different opportunity, no longer having to endure the hardships of the previous life. But how to protect this money with just an 18-year-old girl's capabilities was indeed a considerable challenge. Less than a day later, I received a call from Mom. "Lily, dear, where are you? Why didn't you tell us you won 5 million yuan? Not a word to the family." Sure enough, Grace had told Mom and Dad everything about the 5 million yuan. I lay in the hotel room I had just rented, leisurely drinking water. "Yes, what's the matter, Mom?" My mother's voice on the phone seemed to jump up. "Oh, great. Come home right away. Mom and Dad are having a headache about housing. With money, we can choose a beautiful apartment. And conveniently change schools for your brother, too. Dad's car is also old. We need to get a new one. Our whole family will have a new life from now on." Mom kept rambling about her spending plans as if the 5 million yuan was already in her pocket. I listened, my face cold, only sneering inwardly, feeling extremely fortunate that I hadn't gone home after receiving the money. "Mom, when did I say I would give all the money to the family?" The voice on the phone changed tone. "Lily, what do you mean?" "I mean, I plan to spend this money myself. The whole family should stop dreaming." Mom panicked. "Lily, your dad and I are working ourselves to the bone at the construction site, while you are living comfortably with a pile of money. Where's your conscience?" I took the last sip of water, yawned, and casually replied, "Mom, who is our whole family living and dying for? Surely not for me?" Before the university entrance exams, Mom cried and complained to us sisters about how there was no money at home, so we had to pay for our own tuition. Our family couldn't afford 4,000 yuan tuition a year for public school, but they quickly scraped together 500,000 yuan for my brother to get married later. When asked, they said sons must have capital to get married. Usually, Mom and Dad eat steamed buns with pickled vegetables at the construction site, and their clothes are the same year-round, never changing. Every time they need living expenses, they send photos of themselves working under the scorching sun. Grace saw this and felt sorry, saying, "Mom and Dad are working hard. We should be considerate." But Mom has never thought about who their hardships are for. On the phone, Mom's voice became harsh, as if about to explode. "What are you saying? From childhood to adulthood, have we ever mistreated you? I carried you for 9 months, gave birth to you, and painstakingly raised you. You don't even have a word of thanks? Go out there and see how many girls in other families can't even go to high school. How many people have done as much as we have, ensuring you get a good education? Why don't you learn from your sister a little, be more sensible, and think more about your parents?" Speaking to the end, her voice began to choke. Grace, seeing Mom being angered by me to tears, snatched the phone and started to scold me. "Lily, you're truly too selfish. Just because Mom and Dad made you earn your own tuition back then, you resent them? Parents raise us, that's enough. They have no obligation to pay for our university. As a person, you must know gratitude. Don't take what your parents do for you for granted. Daughters with money must help their families, it's common sense. Wait a few years, we'll get married and become outsiders. How much time will we have left to be filial to our parents?" I was speechless again. Some people's thinking deserves suffering. Right. I'm selfish and unfilial. How can I compare to that great filial daughter? So, Mom, in the future, if our family has any difficulties, you must definitely let Grace help more. House money, bride price for my brother, all rely on her. Saying this, I hung up without waiting for Mom to reply. I had already signed a contract with the study abroad agency and started preparing for the TOEFL and SAT exams. Since Mom couldn't find me, she called every few days, from using filial piety to coerce me, gradually shifting to, "Mom doesn't need your money, but a girl holding so much money alone outside is dangerous. Come home, Mom will keep it for you. Don't you trust your own mother?" I just shrugged and smiled it off. While I was sitting in the air-conditioned hotel, studying for TOEFL, Grace had found a part-time job in a factory, working 12 hours a day, with a meager monthly salary of 2,500 yuan. By the end of the summer vacation before school started, she posted on social media, "The salary for more than 2 months of part-time work is a total of 6,000 yuan, considered tuition for the first year." But not 2 days later, I saw my mother on social media in a video. She was wearing a new gold bracelet and asking everyone, "My daughter bought this for me from her part-time job. Do you think it's pretty?" Below, many people sighed in admiration, saying she was blessed to have such a filial daughter. Mom was smug, indeed. This money was originally for her tuition. I casually mentioned wanting a bracelet, but she was still stingy. Then she immediately bought it for me. She showed off the shoes bought for Dad, then the watch for my brother, and of course, another round of admiring comments from netizens. Someone asked, "Then how much is left of her part-time money? What about tuition? Does your family support her?" Mom replied, "Oh, no, let her figure it out herself." Netizens immediately commented, "That's not right. She's still young, finally earned a little money, it should be for her to keep." Mom said, "Raising a daughter is raising her for someone else's family, to eat at her in-laws' house, to earn money for her husband's family. If we don't make her repay us early, it's a loss after she gets married." Some young netizens, seeing this, were indignant. This mother is too patriarchal, even calculating her daughter's tuition. Truly a demon and a vampire. Mom angrily retorted, "Where am I patriarchal? If I were patriarchal, would I have let my daughter go to university? Earning money to support parents is what should be done, isn't it? Young people nowadays are so selfish with no sense of family. Just like my second daughter, ungrateful wretch." The comment section became even more lively. Heavens, 2 daughters and 1 son, still denying patriarchy? Clearly wanting a son to carry on the family line. She called her second daughter ungrateful, surely because the girl was smart and didn't let her exploit her, so she's angry like this. Mom was hit where it hurt, flew into a rage, and argued back and forth with netizens. I scrolled through, respecting and blessing her. Grace began her university life with loans. And half a year later, I received an offer from a top 10 QS university, went abroad alone, and started my study abroad journey. Mom knew about it and gnashed her teeth. Even domestic universities she couldn't get into. Going abroad is just buying a degree to get by. Let's see what you can amount to. I calmly drink coffee, not bothering to pay attention. Afterward, I buried myself in studying, gradually contacting my family less. Only occasionally did I see Grace's posts on social media. She was either working part-time or on her way to work part-time. In her university years, not only did she not spend a penny of family money, but she also frequently sent red envelopes and gifts to her parents and brother, all in amounts of hundreds or thousands of yuan each time. Every time they received money, Mom and Dad praised her for being well-behaved and filial, unlike that ungrateful daughter who had disappeared without a trace. She was extremely proud of this. In addition to vaguely bad-mouthing me as an unfilial younger sister, she also publicly criticized her roommate for being an only child, spending 3,000 yuan a month, selfish and extravagant. The next time I received news from home was when my brother, Ryan, failed the high school entrance exams. Mom wanted me to bring him to America. Mom doesn't care about how much money you've wasted anymore, as long as you can raise your brother to be someone. I heard bullying is quite serious abroad. Choose a good private school for him. Boys don't know how to take care of themselves. You just bring him home to live with you, do laundry, cook for him, so someone can look after him. She rambled on, painting her utopian vision. The beads on my abacus flew across the ocean, hitting me straight in the face. It had been a long time since I had heard such an amusing Soviet joke. The iced Americano in my mouth almost sprayed out. My dear Mom, high school in America is not a garbage dump. With his grades that can't even get into a regular high school domestically, you think going abroad can change his life? And do I look like someone who's willing to be taken advantage of? What kind of tone is that? He's your own brother. Why do you have to talk so harshly? Mom's voice became unpleasant. Boys have low stress tolerance for domestic high school entrance exams. Boys usually face great pressure. And just taking care of your brother a little, what's the big deal? If it weren't for your parents raising you to go to high school, how could you have gone to university? Too lazy to argue, I just found an image of a nice-looking stock on the internet and sent it over, then pretended to cry in extreme pain. Mom, it's not that I don't want to help our family, but I don't have a penny left in hand. I wanted to invest in the US stock market, hoping to earn extra income, but alas, life is not like a dream. I bought a bunch of bad stocks, causing my money to disappear almost entirely. Or, Mom, why don't you try? Help me borrow some money temporarily, wait until I earn back my capital, and I promise to take care of my brother's admission to a prestigious university. Mom heard this, her face turning livid with anger. I've told you so many times, you're a prodigal daughter, a spendthrift. All the money poured into your hands is burned clean by you like that, huh? She scolded and slammed the phone down. The space around me suddenly became strangely quiet. Later, it was rumored that Mom and Dad had tried to get Ryan into a 5-year vocational college, but unfortunately, his scores were too low. It took a considerable sum of money as a bribe to solve it. Meanwhile, Grace was also approaching graduation season. She wanted to study for a master's degree, but Mom kept complaining that studying was stressful and hoping she could soon start helping the family. So, she had to join the school's recruitment rush. For several years, working part-time while studying, her grades were not very outstanding, and her work experience was almost non-existent. Plus, her major was rare, so finding a suitable job was truly like finding a needle in a haystack. In the end, she reluctantly took the civil service exam for a teacher position in her hometown. While I naturally graduated with honors from a prestigious Ivy League school, with recommendation letters from professors, my path to a PhD became even broader, much smoother than in my previous life. Not long after Grace officially started working, I accidentally read her latest post on social media. Parents want to use my savings to pay for a house loan, but it seems this house will later be planned as a honeymoon suite for my younger brother. What should I do? Under the comment section, netizens erupted. Sister, wake up. That house definitely won't be for you. You're carrying a loan burden for decades, and even your first-time homebuyer status is gone. Your parents are too calculating. Those sincere and heartfelt advices were all ignored by her, not even a reply. A few days later, she still calmly posted the property ownership certificate. Thank you all for your concern. Mom said this house is the common property of the whole family. Even if I get married in the future, our family will still keep a room for me. And everyone, rest assured, I'm not stupid. I won't ever become the kind of person who only knows how to benefit my brother. The netizens who had vehemently advised her a few days ago were now so angry they wanted to spit blood. The next time I met my family was when I returned home after graduating with a PhD to visit Grandma. In my childhood, I was a left-behind child, always living on Grandma's love and care. I heard her health had been failing in recent years, always longing to see me. Whether for sentiment or reason, you should come home, just in time for the new year, for family gatherings and meals. It's been years since we last met. Ryan has graduated from college, the family has used connections to find him a job, and he already has a girlfriend. And Grace, these years, has almost poured all her salary into the family. Mom and Dad wear gold and silver, living very comfortably. At the dinner, relatives all praised my parents for being blessed. Their children are all successful. Their second daughter is even a PhD, returned from studying in America. Mom rolled her eyes. What success is she? All these years, not even a phone call home, returned empty-handed. Raising her was a waste of food and effort. Compared to my previous life, working part-time while studying, when I returned home, carrying piles of gifts, this life, not only did I spend all the 5 million yuan that she thought belonged to the family, but I also returned empty-handed. Truly an unfilial child. Grace also chimed in, that's right, learn to be a person before learning to work. Not even repaying the kindness of parents' upbringing, no matter how high your education, you're still a scoundrel. Mother and daughter took turns sniping at me, subtly and openly accusing me of crimes over the years. The eyes of those around gradually became complicated. Relatives, seeing this, began to speak up to criticize me. Your sister is right. One can't forget their roots. Your parents have worked hard to raise you to be a PhD. You should think more about them. Your brother has also grown up, and later he will have to worry about marriage and children. The burden on your parents' shoulders will definitely be very heavy. You should also help them a little. Even university tuition I wasn't provided, yet now they considered my PhD as their great achievement. In my heart, I rolled my eyes countless times, but outwardly still smiled. Oh, dear aunts and uncles, just rest assured. We have my sister taking care of things. Do you still need me to worry? My elder sister is like a mother. Later, whether parents need someone to care for them in their old age or my brother needs capital for marriage, she will definitely not abandon them, right, sister? I said, winking mischievously at Grace. She gave me a disdainful glance, of course. Do you think everyone is as heartless as you? Relatives, seeing this, turned to praise her wholeheartedly, saying she was filial and knew how to repay her parents' kindness. Grace had the opportunity to beam with pride, extremely pleased. Previous life and this life, changing positions, I became the one my mother hated. Finally, what she put in was rewarded. After the dinner, Grandma wanted me to stay at her house. Grandma's house still has a spare room. But Ryan said, in a few days, his girlfriend is coming, must keep the room for her. Grace also sneered. You haven't contributed anything to this family, so you don't have the right to stay here, do you? I didn't bother to argue with them. Leaving the door, I went straight to a 5-star hotel and booked a luxury suite for a month. The next day, I returned to get my luggage, just in time to see Ryan bringing his girlfriend home to meet the family. The girl, named Mia, looked very delicate. Glancing at me, she revealed a look of disdain. Ryan, didn't you say your elder sister is about to get married? Why is there another second sister popping up? Ryan, eyes glued to the game screen on the sofa, didn't even bother to look up. Oh, that little one? She's always outside, not living with us, ignore her. The girl frowned, showing dissatisfaction. Ryan hurriedly put down the game, turned to coax her. Okay, my love, rest assured. My mom said this house is for our wedding. No outsiders will live here. Hearing this, Mia's face relaxed a little, but her eyes still looked at me full of displeasure and hostility. When I went downstairs to get my car, just seeing my Mercedes, her eyes lit up. This car is yours, sister? I just smiled without answering and drove away. Less than 2 days later, Ryan called me. Second sister, this weekend Mia and I are going on a road trip. Lend me your car. I was lying in a sea view room, eating watermelon while watching the Olympics. Hearing this, I was dumbfounded. Don't you have a car? When he graduated, the family bought him a Toyota, still running fine. Mia likes your car. Recalling Mia's greedy eyes from the other day, so this was what she was waiting for. I bit into a piece of watermelon. Sorry, lending cars is risky. If anything happens, the car owner is fully responsible. I don't have the energy for that. Being directly rejected by me, he immediately became rude. Lending it to Mia for a few days? What's the big deal? Making excuses. You're really stingy. In this family, only you are the most selfish. Truly the kind of person who only knows how to think of themselves. I sneered. Me selfish? That's because you want to take advantage of me and I didn't let you. Whoever isn't selfish, go borrow their car. Saying this, I ignored his futile roaring and hung up with a bang. Not being able to borrow the car, I didn't know how Ryan coaxed his girlfriend. I only knew from that day on, he took her shopping extravagantly. When the money ran out, he'd run back home to beg for more. After some time, Mia, always arrogant, finally nodded and got engaged. Seeing their son settled down, my parents were overjoyed, smiling from ear to ear. Their attitude towards me also changed dramatically. Dad suddenly called, asking me to come home for dinner. Mom prepared a lavish meal, constantly putting food on my plate. Last time you came back in a hurry, didn't have time to talk to Mom and Dad. Today, our whole family gathers for a proper meal. Dad kept putting food on my plate, acting like a very kind father. He completely didn't mention the day they were hostile to me, nor the matter of Ryan driving me away. Since people were being nice to me, I didn't want to do anything. Well, just smile and eat my fill first, then think about it later. A while later, Dad carefully probed, "You know about Ryan's relationship, right?" I kept my head down, eating. Yes, I know. Parents have gone to the girl's family to talk. They gave a condition that you and your sister must get married first. I still kept my head down, eating. Yes, I know. Oh heavens. Managing everything already. Now it's my turn to worry about your marriage. I tilted my head, looking at the whole family. So, whether I get married or not, what does it have to do with their marriage? Ryan quickly interjected. Mia said she doesn't want to live with outsiders in one house. Outsiders or not, I don't live with our family. Ryan still wouldn't give up. That's also not okay. Mia said, waiting for us to get married. You, as the elder sister, should be sensible and get married soon to be done with it. It's also a way to respect her. You're this age and still not married, people will laugh. I glanced at his not-so-smart brain, then looked at Mom and Dad, seeing they seemed to want to say something but hesitated. An idea suddenly flashed in my head. I smiled faintly. Surely it's not just that, right? How much bride price does your Mia demand? He blurted out, 580,000 yuan, but Mia said she only needs the attitude. Sure enough, there was something else. I glanced at Grace. Today she was very different from usual, having been silent ever since I stepped in the door. Because currently both she and I were like pork on a chopping block, waiting to be priced and sold. Without waiting for me to answer, Ryan continued, but anyway, you sisters are already married off. Things in the house can't be taken away. The car you're driving should also be left behind, right? My car, when did it become family property? What do you mean, my car? Daughter's earnings before marriage are all family property. This car, of course, is also for our whole family. Mom hurriedly spoke up, backing up her son. Her reasoning was still invincible as ever. I really wanted to burst out laughing in ridicule. Suddenly recalling when I was little, Ryan clearly had a whole cabinet full of snacks, yet he still came to snatch my candies. Ryan and I wrestled for half a day, finally winning back my own candy. Then he went to tell Mom and Dad. What awaited me was usually indiscriminate scolding. As the elder sister, why don't you know to yield to your younger brother? Gradually, it seemed he also knew he was favored, becoming accustomed to using this method to snatch things from my hands. Before, it was candy, now it was a car. Pity that the child of yesteryear had long grown up. I looked at Mom and smiled coldly. So, what law stipulates that daughters cannot own personal property? What law stipulates that single women's income belongs to parents and brothers? She angrily slammed the table and stood up. We're family, still talking about laws? Family ties and filial piety, don't you understand? Have all your studies gone to the dogs? But Mom's son just now said I'm an outsider. I widened my eyes, innocently looking at her. Mom, being refuted to speechlessness, was stunned, not knowing how to answer. After being stunned for a long time, she slumped back into her chair, starting to wail. Fine, you're educated. Mom can't argue with you. Woe is me, suffering my whole life for this family. My own daughter can't ease my worries. I'd rather just die and be done with it. Crying and making a scene, then threatening suicide. When reasoning fails, she resorts to this trick. The great filial son immediately condemned me. Lily, do you have any conscience left? Abroad all these years, not being filial to parents properly is already bad enough. Just returned and you're making Mom angry? Not hurrying to apologize. I finished the last bite of rice, slowly wiped my mouth, raised my eyebrows. If I had no conscience, what would you do? Or go call the police? Eating and drinking my fill, ignoring his frantic roars, I calmly walked out the door. Seeing me unyielding and unshakable, Mom and Dad had to focus on Grace first. They hurriedly contacted matchmakers, arranging for her to go on blind dates. Matchmakers in this small town, once they opened their mouths, all sorts of strange people appeared. Picking and choosing, still couldn't find a satisfactory one. Mom lost patience. All right, just need someone honest and kind. Attitude good enough, other things are acceptable. Pick and choose again. Do you want your brother to get married or not? Finally, under their urging, Grace got engaged to a wealthy man from a factory-owning family, a bit older in age. The other party's conditions were not bad, and they were generous. Mom and Dad were very satisfied. The wedding date was set for next month. After getting engaged, Grace seemed to come back to life, sharing her wedding preparation diary on social media every day. Huge diamond ring, thick gold necklace, spacious house, and beautiful wedding photos. Except for the no longer youthful face and bloated figure of the groom, everything was perfect. Compared to her previous life as a poor couple living in chaos, this life, she seemed to have truly changed her fate. In front of me, she didn't forget to shake her sparkling wedding ring to mock. In this world, there are 3 genders: men, women, and PhDs. You're exactly that kind, destined to be single forever. I was expressionless. Oh, previous life and this life, both sold twice. You are truly blessed. What sold? In total, only 380,000 yuan bride price. Parents even took out 400,000 yuan for my dowry, already too good. She looked proud. Yeah, compared to 2 blankets in the previous life, indeed there's progress. I nodded seriously. After all, a daughter married off poorly and a daughter married off richly, their future values are also different. Cast a long line to catch big fish, worthy of being my parents. Their talent in their career is only in selling daughters. They have innate talent. Grace's marriage was settled. Mom came to do ideological work on me again. See how good the family your sister is marrying into? Both rich and with good attitude. You're not young anymore either. Find a good family and marry early. That's the right thing to do. Would we harm you? I listened to every word in her calculation, calmly opening my mouth. Selling Grace wasn't enough yet. Still planning to sell me? How much money? Oh no, how much attitude? Don't open your mouth and talk about selling daughters. Did you spring out of a rock? Kindness of upbringing doesn't need repayment? Taking a little bride price isn't allowed? Otherwise, why do people say raising daughters is a loss? I blinked, seriously looking at her. So raising sons is very easy? Did your son spring out of a rock? Surely kindness of upbringing doesn't need repayment. What nonsense are you talking about? These are different matters. Can daughters compare to sons? Indeed, can't compare. One is a PhD graduating from an Ivy League school, one is a bachelor's degree graduate from a 985 university, and one occupies all family resources but is only a diploma from a second-tier college. I couldn't help but sneer. Don't bring up those useless things. Daughters, no matter how good, are outsiders. Sons are the real family. She angrily glared, saying things that didn't agree, both sides unhappy. Not being able to extort anything from me, Mom and Dad had to take out their savings, plus Grace's bride price, scraping together 580,000 yuan for Ryan's wedding. From then on, I became a sinner of the whole family again. Everyone, when mentioning me, said I was insensible, watching my parents empty their pockets without helping. I didn't care, still enjoying mountains and rivers, eating and drinking happily, and also not delaying job hunting. Within 2 months, my mailbox continuously received several job invitations, including from large companies in North America and from domestic universities. After much consideration, I chose to return home. Previous life staying in America to work was because after graduation, finances were tight, I was in a hurry to earn money. But this life, I had enough confidence to choose the life I wanted. Striving to study science and technology was to bring advanced technology back to contribute to my homeland. I accepted a job offer from a university in Shanghai, starting my scientific research path. Half a year later, I began applying for research grants and publishing papers. Grace began showing off her pregnant belly, showing off the bonuses her husband and in-laws gave her. A year later, my project had initial results, and the paper was published in a prestigious scientific journal. Grace gave birth to a son. 2 years later, I received the National Natural Science Foundation grant, was pre-evaluated and promoted to associate professor. Grace broke the news of her divorce. It turned out that ever since she got married, my parents had been pressuring her, wanting her not to forget her parents' kindness to help her natal family more. Over the past 2 years, she had successively subsidized her parents more than 200,000 yuan. This time, my brother demanded to change cars, and she transferred another 300,000 yuan, which was discovered by her husband. The two erupted in a quarrel. She relied on having given birth to a son and was fearless. That's my own brother. My parents raised me not easily. What's wrong with me helping him? Your parents spent millions buying a house for your sister. I haven't said anything. Is a few 100,000 for my brother not worth it? I've given birth to a grandson for your family. Is this how you treat a hero? She cried and yelled, earth-shattering words that opened people's eyes. These words reached her in-laws' ears. They turned livid and warned her that if she made any more noise, she should get out of the house. But Mom, in her role as a military advisor behind the scenes, was still adding fuel to the fire. You have a son now. What are you afraid of? Just say you want a divorce, and he'll naturally come to coax you. By then, wouldn't you be in the palm of your hand? So Grace proposed divorce. Unexpectedly, the other party actually agreed, and after the divorce, Grace got almost no assets. The house was bought by her husband before marriage. She had no share. Post-marital income of the two was all taken by her to subsidize her natal family. The other party even sued her to reclaim the assets transferred. Grace left the house in debt with nowhere to go. The house she was paying for had become her brother's honeymoon suite. She tried to negotiate with her brother to see if she could stay for a few days temporarily. Ryan immediately jumped up. You want to make a scene so I also get divorced? Mom and Dad also scolded her for being useless, not being able to keep her husband, letting the money tree run away. The family, originally very loving, now became acrimonious, just like in the previous life. Losing Grace's support, Ryan and Mia's life plummeted. Precisely when they had gotten used to extravagant spending, going back to thrift was too difficult. Parents were old, no longer earning money at the construction site. Limited subsidies, seeing the whole family in poverty. Mom, not knowing where she heard news about me, hurriedly contacted me excitedly. Lily, dear, heard you've become an associate professor? Your brother and sister-in-law want to come to Shanghai to work. Can you get them a position at your university? Must be easy, and the salary can't be too low. I was revising a paper, busy to my wits' end. Seeing her dreaming again, I bluntly refused. The university is not opened by me. Nowadays, professors are as common as hares. If everyone arranges positions for their relatives, even pork wouldn't be enough to share. Can you let your son do honest work? Stop dreaming. She wouldn't give up. You're already a leader. Why can't you do it? You're just petty, having an opportunity but not helping your brother. Later when you have trouble, no one will help you. Knowing reasoning was useless, I didn't answer her anymore. However, just a few days later, I was anonymously accused in a letter to the university president's mailbox and also posted on the school bulletin board. The content accused me of academic fraud, moral degeneration, refusing to support elderly parents, and not being married due to a chaotic private life, and so on. Although these baseless arguments were not enough for the university to punish me, I became famous throughout the school because of this. Walking on the road, I would be gossiped about. Students who didn't know the story looked at me with suspicious eyes. I couldn't bear it anymore, starting to investigate the source of the accusation letter. Finally, after determining the IP and email number, I knew the sender was Mia. This was because making a scene for a job was unsuccessful. She started malicious revenge. I thought for a moment, and a plan was in my heart. In the 8-square-meter rented room, filled with clutter, Grace's face was haggard, her eyes sunken, looking like she had aged 10 years. You came to see me make a fool of myself? She sat before a narrow desk, her eyes dull. The civil service teacher job in the village, each month receiving more than 5,000 yuan. After deducting rent, utilities, and repaying the assets her ex-husband demanded back, she was weighed down, unable to breathe. This life, you won again. She said, you are now both famous and wealthy, with both money and reputation. You came back, surely parents will recognize you. I coldly stared at her. If even now you are still pursuing their recognition, then even if you redo it 100 times, it's the same. Her whole person seemed to be submerged in dust, like a withered, dim plant. Hearing this, she slowly raised her head, blankly looking at me. Taking a deep breath, continuing to say, Sister used unremitting efforts to seek recognition, used money, education, marriage to prove her value. But did you ever think about why Ryan doesn't need these things? Daughters always have to try their best to get a little affirmation, while sons, even if they are trash, can be supported wholeheartedly. That is the difference. Their love for daughters is conditional and clearly priced. Love for sons is unconditional and regardless of repayment. Previous life, before you died, you said parents were biased towards me, but ask yourself, are they really biased towards me? What they are biased towards is the bright halo behind me, is the asset value I bring, and the potential exploitative value. Once these things are lost, I will also be like you, discarded like garbage. So, Sister and I have never been competitors, but cows and goats raised in the same pen, just seeing who is fatter. Silence all around. Tears from her empty eyes flowed down, falling onto the desk covered in dust and grease stains. Silent for a long time, then she burst into tears, sobbing. But now, saying anything is too late. Why is it too late? I stepped closer to her, saying word by word, the property ownership of Ryan's house is in your hands, and the assets your ex-husband demanded back are in their hands. They want to sue to reclaim them, isn't it very simple? Saying this, without waiting for her to reply, I left. I had hinted this far. Next, how to do it depends on herself. A month later, as I predicted, Grace sued her parents and brother, requesting division of the house and reclaiming the large sums of money transferred before. So, the house was auctioned off by the court, and the family savings were forcibly seized. Ryan went crazy and stabbed Grace in front of the courthouse, but fortunately was rescued in time, not life-threatening. Only the parents' beloved son predictably had to go to jail, leaving the two old people in chaos. Mia, seeing the situation was bad, wanted to take the last bit of money and run away, but the summons for my lawsuit against her for defamation had already arrived at her door. In the end, Grace said, "Sorry, Lily." This life, her realizing reality and regretting was true. Previous life, her personally killing me was also true. No need to meet again. May everyone be well. Spring passed and autumn came again, another school opening season. I walked on the university campus, promoting the scholarship fund I personally established, awarded to girls without family support. A source of encouragement, also helping myself from the previous life who had once worried about tuition fees.